Ladies, listen closely, because what I'm about to say might just awaken something fierce, divine, and unstoppable in you. There's a reason why certain women don't crumble. They've walked through fire, felt the sting of betrayal, the ache of heartbreak, and the weight of being disrespected. And still, they rise. Not because they've turned cold, not because they're numb, but because they are covered. There is something sacred There is something sacred. An invisible hand has ever truly prospered. It shields and covers her. And when you understand that power, you're going to see the truth. If you're that woman, or becoming her, this message is your mirror. Don't look away. Every word here is your reflection, a reminder of the unstoppable spirit you carry inside. To the outside world, she might look like she's on her own, like she's distant, missing out, maybe even a little too quiet. People wonder, how can she move through life without clinging to someone? No entourage, no drama, no need for applause. What they don't see is the truth. She's not alone. She's not waiting on validation. She's not chasing attention. She's walking with God, with grace, with deep purpose. She's been through too much to rely on temporary people. She's had her heart handled carelessly by those who claimed they cared. She's been left when she needed someone most. But instead of falling apart, she built herself stronger. She didn't grow bitter, she grew wise. She learned that some people only come into your life to teach you how to stand tall, even when no one is standing with you. And once you master that walking alone, you realize you were never alone to begin with. You were being divinely protected, separated, and prepared. When a woman learns how to walk in solitude, it means she's reclaimed her own voice. Not the voice shaped by guilt or fear, not the one muted by society's expectations, but her voice, the one that knows when to walk away, the one that speaks in whispers when the world shouts noise. That voice is sacred. That voice doesn't scream, it leads. And she walks alone so she can hear it loud and clear. She knows that not every space is safe, not every smile is sincere, not every crowd is worthy. She's learned how to feel the room. She senses energy the moment she steps in. She can detect what doesn't belong without a single word being spoken. And after spending years surrounded by the wrong people, being alone feels like oxygen. It's not loneliness, it's liberation. It's the kind of freedom that makes you fall in love with your own company. That's her power. That's her edge. Because evil doesn't show up looking obvious. It shows up charming. It shows up smiling. And the ones always surrounded, always distracted, always needing someone, it's always shown relatively short, but they're not really contained above it. Because everybody exempts you. All who stand by and be by you. For a reason why last time we met, appreciate that verse. So hard the reason he liked the Islam here. So find the pair. People ask, how is she okay by herself? What they don't realize is that solitude taught her what connection never could. It taught her that love isn't about proving yourself or holding on to people who can't see your worth. It's about having the courage to walk away, even when your heart wants to stay. She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase, she lets go, gracefully. Because her peace, it's priceless. And nothing is worth disturbing that. What guards her is not something you can see, it's spiritual, it's divine. It's the intuition that tells her no when the world screams yes. It's the quiet inner compass that steers her away from chaos before it erupts. It's the opportunity she didn't take, the relationship she left, the party she skipped, only to realize later that she dodged destruction in disguise. That's not luck. That's divine wisdom. That's spiritual discernment. And that voice, it only gets louder when she walks in silence. When you surround yourself with noise, you lose clarity. But when she walks alone, she walks in alignment. She hears her intuition. She sees beyond the surface. She moves not from pressure, but from purpose. And that kind of purpose, you can't touch it. You can't fake it. That's why she intimidates some people. That's why the wrong ones can't figure her out. She's not cold. She's centered. She's discerning. Her quiet isn't emptiness. It's her sacred space. It's where she heals. It's where she remembers who she is. It's where her spirit gets refilled, and every step she takes alone is laced with intention. There's no randomness in her movement. She's not lost, she's led. And every time she walks without a crowd, she's sending a message not just to the world, but to anything that dares try to bring her down. You can't touch me. I'm not alone. I'm protected. And let me tell you, protection doesn't always come dressed in armor. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it's solitude. Sometimes it's that woman walking down the street with no one beside her. But she's carrying the strength of generations in her stride. So don't pity her. Don't assume she's lonely. Understand she is walking on sacred ground. She is aligned. And she's never been more powerful. She doesn't need to be betrayed to see someone's true nature. Her spirit speaks before their mask falls. The moment someone enters her energy, she knows. Now, she doesn't guess. She doesn't doubt. She feels. She senses what words can't say. Her intuition, it's her greatest weapon. While others are fooled by charisma and charm, she sees through it like glass. She's danced with deception. She's sat across from betrayal. She's kissed pain and walked away stronger. Once you've survived that kind of depth, you don't just recover, you evolve. Her spirit became sharp, soft, but unshakable. She hears everything. Words, tones, pauses, intentions. That uneasy feeling you get when someone's energy feels wrong, she listens to it. She doesn't brush it off. That's how she stays protected. Not through reaction. She doesn't need closure to move on. She doesn't need proof to trust her gut. Sometimes someone steps into her life and checks every box, but her spirit says no. And without drama, without explanation, she walks away. Because not everything good is good for you. Not every blessing is divine. Not every opportunity is meant to be taken. She trusts her inner knowing more than anything. That voice saved her when people failed her. That voice redirected her when plans fell apart. That voice whispered, "Keep going," when life knocked her down. She doesn't announce it, she just moves with sacred confidence. When someone's energy shifts, she doesn't chase. She observes. She adjusts. She protects her peace like a queen guards her crown. Because she knows what it costs to get here. Her healing, her clarity, her growth. And she won't risk it for anyone. Darkness doesn't always look like shadows. Sometimes it arrives dressed like love. Sometimes it calls itself a friend. And that's why her discernment is her shield. She's seen people pretend with perfection while holding poisonous intentions. She's sat in rooms that looked harmless but felt heavy. And now, she doesn't ignore the vibe, she honors it. Because the moment she started trusting her spirit, her whole life changed. She stopped giving chances to people it only took. She stopped needing confirmation. Her intuition became her compass. She protects herself, not with walls, but with wisdom. Some say she's too guarded. Others say she's too sensitive. But what they call too much is exactly what's kept her safe. Her sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a gift, a divine one. Sharpened by pain, strengthened by experience. And now, it's the very reason why evil can't get near her. Because she sees it coming before it ever arrives. Evidence without needing to explain. Her knowing is quiet yet potent. And that intuition is what keeps her from stepping into snares, from falling for sweet talk, from entertaining anything that contradicts her spirit. She senses shadows before they arrive. And because of that, she walks in light. Not just the kind the world notices, but the kind that sees through the world in all its disguises. That is the kind of protection no wickedness can ever pierce. There's an undeniable strength in restraint. A quiet, commanding presence that doesn't need to retaliate, prove a stance, or dominate every confrontation. She's aware of who she is, and because of that, she refuses to waste her energy on senselessness. She grasps what most will never comprehend. Not every insult needs an answer. Not every opponent deserves your notice. And not every challenger is worth your effort. That isn't frailty, it's clarity. She's endured too much to allow trivial minds to drag her into disorder. She's observed how darkness operates, not always by direct assault, but by creating diversions meant to drain her peace, her clarity, her mission. Once you grasp that some individuals are sent to agitate you, not because of their strength, but because your calm unsettles them, you stop feeding their hunger with your reaction. She knows the art of departure, not due to inability to fight, but because she won't waste her fire on empty battles. She recognizes that some only appear to cause confusion, to test her restraint, to provoke her into becoming someone she's outgrown. But she's too wise now, too aligned, too determined. When you grow, you understand silence can serve as a shield, distance can become a fortress, and peace becomes your conquest. She's learned that being guarded isn't always about avoiding trouble. Sometimes it's about having the fortitude to ignore it, to bypass the confrontation, to abstain from reacting to pettiness, to walk away from chaos before it begins. That's authentic maturity. When nothing shakes you, when provocations fall flat, when you detect the setup and choose to sidestep it. There are those who will attempt to disturb her stillness, provoke her through deception, manipulation, and guilt. They'll press her buttons to see if she's still the same, but she's grown. She's transformed. She's no longer led by emotion. She acts with intention, not instinct. She knows her focus is priceless and won't waste it on those unworthy of her presence. That's the line between the guarded woman and the reactive one. The guarded woman has cultivated the power to pause before speaking, to inhale before replying, to reflect before leaping. She's aware that some souls simply wish to extract from her, derail her from her assignment, fracture her focus because her stability unsettles them. When you carry light, the darkness will try to lure you in, but it only triumphs if you step into its domain. So she stands rooted. She guards her tranquility. She lets the world assume, whisper, invent, because her purpose outweighs their chatter. She's not in the business of validation. She's in the business of preservation. And that is what unnerves the darkness. A woman unbothered, a woman unshaken, a woman who lets her silence echo louder than their noise. Because when you don't engage, you take their control. When you don't respond, you leave them alone with their schemes. When you don't wage wars that don't belong to you, you preserve your sanctuary. Her armor is in her quiet, in that deep knowing that says, you don't need to challenge everything. You don't need to triumph in every exchange. You don't owe anyone an explanation who is committed to misjudging you. She knows her source. She knows her mission. And because of that, there's nothing to prove. Some will label her cold. Some will claim she's distant, that she should have spoken up, that she should have clapped back, but she knows the cost of entering chaos. She knows how easily balance can be lost when fighting in arenas that were never hers to enter. So she doesn't quarrel, she doesn't plead, she rises. Above the lies, above the noise, above the mess. Because she knows that to rise, you must first release. Every time she removes herself from something crafted to dismantle her calm, she's covered. Every time she picks peace over retaliation, she's fortified. Every time she resists, proving her value to those beneath her destiny, she grows stronger. She doesn't engage every fight because not every fight is hers. Some are just clamor, some are bait, and some are beneath the woman she is now. Her boundary is her discipline. Her silence is her shield. Her triumph is in still being rooted, still centered, still powerful, while the storm rages around her. She's unmoved, she's unfazed, she doesn't fight, because the battle is already won. Not everyone deserves to be in her inner circle, and she knows it. She doesn't seek mass approval. She's not here to dazzle a crowd. Her allegiance isn't up for grabs, and her space isn't open to all. She protects her peace too fiercely to let everyone close. Once you've felt betrayal, once you've been wounded by those you trusted, once you've stood among smiles masking sabotage, you learn. You realize that access is something earned, not owed. She doesn't cling to people to fill a void. She doesn't host shallow connections that exhaust her soul. If it's inauthentic, if it's not anchored in truth, sincerity, and loyalty, she lets it go. She isn't frightened by solitude. She flourishes in it. In quiet, she finds guidance. In stillness, she hears what the noise muffles. That's why her circle is tight, not out of isolation, but out of intention. She understands energy. She knows that who you invite near you has the power to elevate or erode. That's why she treats her space as sacred. She's witnessed how darkness doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes cloaked in false support. Sometimes the most vocal cheerleaders are also the most silent saboteurs. She's endured that sting. Now she observes closer. She listens deeper. She's no longer blinded by titles, be it friend, family, or lover. She doesn't need a crowd, just a few loyal, truthful souls. People who cheer for her in private and in public. People who stand on integrity, who don't smile in her presence while tearing down others in her absence. And if she doesn't find them, she's content walking solo, because harmony within is more precious than fake companionship. She would rather journey alone in authenticity than be surrounded by a crowd built on deception. Her soul stays clear because she tends to it. She doesn't just defend herself from external harm, she inspects her own heart. She examines her flaws. She takes accountability. She forgives, not because the offender is deserving, but because she refuses to let bitterness take root. That's part of her safeguard, cleansing herself of anything that dims her spirit. She understands that what dwells within you shapes what shows up around you. So she lets go of hate. She surrenders envy. She abandons vengeance, not from weakness, but from wisdom. She knows a pure heart hears more clearly. She knows abundance flows easier when your soul is unobstructed. Darkness grows where resentment lingers. That's why she won't clutch to past harm. She releases. She mends. And in doing so, she becomes unshakable. The toxic can't manipulate her with guilt. They can't twist her emotions. They can't pull her into their storms because she's not carrying the same pain anymore. She operates differently now. Her close circle acts as her protection, not due to quantity, but because of energy. Real sees real. Loyalty draws loyalty. And she's built her world on honesty, not applause. That's why malevolence can't approach, because it can't survive where authenticity reigns. When your spirit is clean, it exposes falsehood. It unnerves manipulators. It causes deceivers to retreat. She doesn't chase anyone. She doesn't plead for affection. She doesn't force bonds. If it's not shared, if it's not honest, she walks away. She understands that anything coerced isn't meant. And what's destined for her will never demand her to trade peace for approval. That's why she rests easy. Not because everything is flawless, but because her core is steady, her people are solid, and her soul is still. And no matter how deeply she may love, if someone disrupts that peace, she will always pick herself, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. And she fears not being alone, she fears being lost in phony attachments. She fears pouring endlessly into bottomless pits. She fears circling back to what she's broken free from. So she stays discerning, not closed, just vigilant. And when something feels misaligned, she listens. Because her past taught her that peace is a signal and chaos a siren. Her trusted few need no monitoring. Their loyalty has proven itself. Her soul remains untarnished because she's done the necessary healing. Her life is guarded not because she wards off darkness, but because she no longer lets it enter. That's why she stands tall. That's why her steps are steady, because she's not dragging burdens. She's not replaying old wounds. She's not socializing with disguised threats. She's established a life built on reality. And that life cannot be shaken. Not by rumors, not by betrayal, not by evil dressed in familiarity. Her circle is tight. Her soul is clean. And that is her shield. That's why when she walks into a room, she doesn't need to announce her presence. Her energy does it for her. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's the calm that comes from knowing who she is, what she stands for, and what she refuses to entertain. She no longer shrinks herself to make others comfortable. She no longer dims her light to appease those afraid of their own reflection. She no longer explains herself to people who've already made up their mind. She's free from the chains of approval, free from the prison of perception, free from the expectations that used to weigh her down. Her silence now speaks more than her words ever could, and her peace is her loudest declaration. She knows now that being misunderstood isn't her problem, it's their limitation. She doesn't spend sleepless nights replaying conversations in her head, wondering what she could have said differently. She's not trying to convince anyone of her value anymore. The ones meant for her will feel it without explanation. The ones who see her clearly won't need convincing. The rest, they were never meant to stay. That's a truth she's made peace with. Not everyone is meant to walk with you, and some are only meant to teach you how to walk alone. She's learned to bless the departures just as much as the arrivals, because every exit created space for something more aligned. Every betrayal uncovered a truth. Every silence revealed a lesson. And every heartbreak pushed her deeper into herself, into her healing, her growth, her truth. She doesn't regret the pain anymore. She doesn't wish it away. She honors it because it made her. It taught her what no comfort ever could. It introduced her to herself in ways peace never would have. And now she's unstoppable. Not because she's unbreakable, but because she knows how to rebuild. She's not afraid of being broken, she's afraid of being fake. She's afraid of wearing masks, of pretending, of settling for less than truth. That's why she lives raw, lives real. She doesn't hide her scars. She wears them like medals, proof that she survived what was sent to destroy her, evidence that she can bleed and still rise, that she can be shattered and still shine, that she can walk through the fire and come out gold. That's who she is now. Not perfect, but pure. Not loud, but powerful. Not seen by all, but felt by many. She doesn't force healing timelines, she honors the process. She knows some wounds take time. She doesn't shame herself for feeling. She knows emotions aren't weaknesses, they're indicators. They tell her where to go, what to release, what still needs love. She gives herself the grace she used to beg others for. She's gentle with herself now. She forgives herself for the times she didn't know better. For the times she stayed too long, loved too hard, gave too much. Because she knows now she did the best she could with what she had. And that's enough. She knows growth is messy, that evolution isn't linear, that some days the strongest thing she can do is rest, that healing isn't always visible. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed. Sometimes it looks like staying off the phone. Sometimes it looks like crying in silence or laughing in moments you never thought joy would find you again. And she honors all of it, the small wins, the quiet victories, the unseen strength, because she knows what it costs her to get here. And she refuses to diminish that now. Her confidence doesn't scream, it settles. It's not in the clothes she wears or the way she walks. It's in the way she chooses herself when no one else does. It's in the way she believes in her worth even when others can't see it. It's in the way she keeps showing up for herself, for her dreams, for her truth, especially on the days it would be easier not to. Especially when no one is watching. Because she's not living for the applause anymore. She's living for the alignment, for the moments that feel like home inside her own skin. She's not trying to be better than anyone. She's trying to be better than who she was yesterday. That's the only competition she honors. That's the only race she's running. Because she knows comparison is the thief of peace. And peace is her priority. Not status, not approval, not perfection, just peace. The kind that doesn't depend on circumstances, the kind that doesn't crumble under pressure, the kind that isn't performative but protected. That's her real wealth. That's her true currency. And she's rich now. Not in material things, but in wisdom, in discernment, in self-awarenesses, in emotional intelligence, in boundaries, in clarity, in love that doesn't hurt, in silence that soothes, in friendships that nourish, in solitude that heals. She doesn't need noise to feel alive. She doesn't need validation to feel seen. She doesn't need constant company to feel whole. She's found wholeness within, and now everything she accepts must match that wholeness. Anything less gets no seat at her table. She's not hard to love. She's just no longer open to love that cost her herself. She's not unapproachable. She just doesn't entertain what drains her. She's not bitter. She's better. And that difference is everything, because she's not protecting herself out of fear, but out of love. Love for the woman she's become. Love for the life she's built. Love for the peace she's fought to protect. She's no longer proving, she's preserving, no longer chasing, just attracting, no longer surviving, but thriving. This is her power now. Not in her ability to fight, but in her decision to choose peace anyway. Not in how loud she can roar, but in how deeply she can rest. Not in how many know her name, but in how few truly know her heart. And those who do, they are rare. Because access is earned, her peace is sacred, her energy priceless, her spirit guarded. And that, above all else, is what makes her untouchable. There's something powerful about a woman who doesn't panic when the storm rolls in. While everyone else is losing their grip, scrambling for control, she remains still, composed, grounded, unwavering. She doesn't allow the chaos around her to create disarray within. Her calm isn't tied to her surroundings. It comes from something deeper, something cultivated, something earned through struggle, pain, and hardship. She didn't find this peace because her life has been smooth. Quite the opposite. She found it because life has tested her, broken her down, stretched her thin, and still, here she is, unshaken. This kind of peace can't be faked. You can't pretend your way into it. It's not something you inherit or borrow. It's something you fight for. You have to walk through fire and resist letting the flames define you. You must watch your world unravel and decide not to crumble with it. You have to lose things you once thought you couldn't live without. You have to say goodbye to people you believed would be there forever, and still find the strength to rise each day with purpose. That's where true peace is born. Not in comfort, but in chaos you've conquered. She doesn't lose sleep over what she can't control. She knows life will confuse you, people will fail you, plans will fall apart, pain will come. But she isn't shaken, because she's tethered to something more secure than her emotions. She doesn't chase after closure. She doesn't demand explanations. She's learned that sometimes peace begins when you stop needing all the answers and start trusting the journey. She doesn't need all the pieces to find stability. She only needs her mindset to stay solid. So when trouble finds her, she doesn't flinch. She's been here before. She stood in darkness and refused to be swallowed by it. She's faced fear and kept moving anyway. She's cried quietly into her pillow and still risen in the morning with fire in her soul. She's learned how to inhale strength right in the middle of the storm because her peace isn't dependent on the absence of trials. It's grounded in the presence of power. People often misread her stillness for weakness, but they have no idea what it took to find that stillness. It takes true strength to be calm when everything is shouting at you. It takes power to be gentle in a world that demands rage. She doesn't argue just to prove she's right. She doesn't panic when things fall apart. She's learned how to ride the waves without letting them drown her. That's not just protection, it's growth. It's spiritual armor. She doesn't need the storm to pass before she feels okay. She carries peace inside. She defends it, nurtures it, guards it like something sacred. Because she knows the world will try to shake her. People will try to break her. But as long as her inner world remains whole, the outside can't touch her. That's why you might see her walking through hell with a calm smile, like she's basking in the sun. Because peace isn't about what's happening around you, it's about what's happening inside of you. And the dark spirits, they hate that. They despise that they can't fracture her. That their drama doesn't disturb her. That their silence doesn't rattle her. That their manipulation doesn't work on her. They'll throw shade, but she doesn't react. They'll try to twist reality, but she holds her clarity. Because she knows if they can't take her peace, they can't take her power, and she clings to it like her life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. She's not naive. She knows storms don't disappear for good. Life has taught her that peace doesn't mean the absence of problems. It means the problems no longer dictate her spirit. That's why she doesn't speak fear. She doesn't expect failure. She builds her mindset, strengthens her spirit, walks through every valley with quiet boldness. She knows the valleys won't last forever, but the strength forged in them, that will carry her to the mountaintop. She doesn't need everyone to approve of her journey. She's not here to explain her choices to people who only want to criticize. Her peace shields her from that. It gives her freedom to move quietly, to pick her battles, to leave without apology, to focus on what matters, to breathe deep when everything feels heavy. That's real protection. Not from pain itself, but from reacting in ways that give pain more power. So while others are racing, panicking, losing themselves, she moves slow. She moves with purpose. Because when your peace is intact, your vision is sharp. You don't chase, you don't fear. You don't collapse, you trust. You flow, you rise. And even if her world is unraveling, she won't, because she's not built on circumstance. She's built on grit, on wisdom, on an inner structure that no storm can shake. That's how you know she's protected. Not because life spares her, but because she remains unbothered when it hits. She doesn't let external noise infect her internal calm. That's the mark of a woman who's walked through fire and emerged refined. A woman who knows her identity. A woman who doesn't need the world around her to be at peace because she already holds peace within. There's something sacred about a woman who doesn't beg for closure, doesn't chase after explanations, doesn't hold on to people who've shown her they're not meant to stay. When her spirit senses misalignment, when the vibe shifts, when peace leaves, she doesn't question it. She doesn't wait for dramatic proof. She doesn't need a big argument to validate what her soul already knows. She simply walks away, and she does so with her chin lifted, with grace, and most importantly, with no need to look back. She's realized what many people miss, peace is expensive. And anything that costs her that peace, that serenity, that clarity, is too expensive to keep. She's not afraid to walk away, not afraid to disappoint others, not afraid to let go of what no longer feels right. Because she understands the cost of clinging to what's out of alignment is always greater than the pain of releasing it. Others might think her silence is cold, but she knows it's wisdom. It's clarity. It's protection. She doesn't indulge confusion. She doesn't entertain drama. She doesn't argue to be heard by people committed to misunderstanding her. When something unsettles her, she doesn't ignore it. She honors her intuition. She treats it like sacred wisdom because she's learned that sometimes your soul knows what your mind hasn't quite understood. And if you stay where your spirit feels drained, you'll start shrinking just to survive. That's not living, that's slowly dying. And she's done with that life. She walks not because she's heartless, but because she's healed enough to choose herself. She walks because you can love deeply and still let someone go. You can forgive entirely and still decide they no longer belong in your world. She's not bitter. She's just no longer willing to bleed for people who wouldn't even notice she was wounded. And that's not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's not ego, it's evolution. When she leaves, she doesn't slam doors, she doesn't make noise, she doesn't chase the final word. That's not who she is. Her silence says everything. Her absence speaks volumes. And those who paid attention, they know when she walks away, something sacred leaves with her. Because her energy isn't ordinary. It brings healing, it brings light, it brings calm, and when she's no longer present, the entire room feels it. The atmosphere changes. Because what she brought can't be faked. It can't be replaced. Those with dark intentions hate this. They hate that she won't play along, that she won't stay just to appear strong, that she won't lower her standards to be accepted. They hate that they can't guilt her or manipulate her through chaos. She's too grounded now, too aligned with her truth, too focused on her mission to be swayed. That's why she no longer explains herself. She doesn't justify her boundaries, her silence, her choices, because peace doesn't require permission. You either feel it or you don't. And if you don't, that's not her concern. She wasn't born to be understood by everyone. She came to live in alignment, to guard her light, to walk in purpose. And if walking away is what it takes, she'll do it. With grace, with strength, without regret. She's mastered the art of letting go. Not because it's painless, but because it's essential. She knows some people are only meant to teach you what you'll never allow again. Some moments are meant to remind you of your value. And when their time ends, so does her presence. She doesn't force what's fading. She's finished watering dead roots. Done explaining herself to people who benefit from her confusion. Done showing up where she's only tolerated. When she walks away, it's not a spite, it's self-preservation. It's honoring the woman she's becoming. The woman who doesn't shrink to keep others comfortable. The woman who's no longer accessible to anything that doesn't build her, heal her, or lift her higher. That woman, she's unstoppable. And that's how you know she's protected. Because no matter the noise, no matter the temptation, no matter how many people try to drag her back into the mess, she walks away. Not just with her feet, but with her soul, her spirit, her energy. She doesn't leave fragments of herself behind trying to repair what was never meant to last. She walks away whole. She walks away clear. That kind of wisdom, that kind of strength, that kind of self-love isn't found in books. It's forged through heartbreak, betrayal, silence, and resilience. That's how she became who she is. A woman who walks away, not because she's weak, but because she's powerful. A woman who doesn't just survive the storm, but rises above it. Because nothing dark can remain connected to a soul this aware, this aligned, this protected. If you see even one piece of this truth in yourself, know this: you are not forgotten, you are not weak, you are not being punished, you are being protected. And sometimes the greatest gift isn't what enters your life, but what never reaches you. Walk boldly. You are chosen